All right, perfect. So it looks like we have some people joining us. So thanks for joining us. My name is Patrick Hankinson. I'm a partner at Concrete Ventures. We are an Atlantic Canadian pre-seed fund focused on finding great ideas and founders looking to build massively scalable businesses here in Atlantic Canada. One of our biggest topics we hear from both the pipeline and portfolio is sales and marketing. And over the next couple of office hours, we're bringing in experts to provide some insights on everything on these topics. Today, I'm excited to have Steve Schmidt from Tidal Consulting to talk about strategies for starting your sales team. Steve and his team have already helped companies close over $188 million in sales over the past 14 months, including one of our portfolio companies. Feel free to ask questions with the Q&A feature during the presentation, and if Steve has time, he'll answer them in real time. And with that, I'll hand it over to Steve.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, everybody, for carving some time out of your day today. I was telling the two gentlemen who were kind enough to ask me on today, both Patrick and Corey, that my biggest goal is to not make this feel like you're not participating, right? I'm not just here to just dump a bunch of data points on you that aren't actionable. So most of this, pardon me, and I'm just coming off of a cold, so I apologize. The 4 kiddos and my wife and I have all traded this cold for about a year, or about a month. It feels like a year. But I should be good to go. I've got a little water here, so if you see me chugging some Waterloo, you'll know why. But we'll get started here. And I just want to identify that our company has seen a ton of demand around demand generation. The past 18 months have obviously been very significant for both funding as well as companies coming into life that are bootstrapped. But every company, no matter what the size, B2C, B2B, e-com, SaaS, tech SaaS, AI, cybersecurity, go down the list. Everybody needs a strategy. So once you think about this, once you are past what I call the friends and family network, like now you got to go to market and sell, and there's confusion. So today we're going to talk about 3 strategies. I'm not here to promote my company. Certainly we do one thing, but I would be the first to say we're not always the right option. We are an outsourced lead gen and demand gen company that focuses on that. There is the internal methodology, meaning going to hire that VP of sales or your first SDR/BDR. I'm just going to say SDR to keep it simple today. Same, synonymous. There is the second option, which is to look at the idea of outsourcing that. So it's kind of the same. Like you're either going to take that resource in-house or you're going to use someone externally. Nobody does that forever, though. Eventually, most people want to take it in-house because to own that is great. And I want to talk about the pros and cons of that. There's also a second strategy, and I'm going to focus on LinkedIn today because I've seen the benefit of it firsthand. First year 1, no funding outside of being just bootstrapped. We're going to finish with 4.2 million in revenue that we can all attribute back to organic content on LinkedIn. We are the shoemaker's son. We've never done outbound for ourselves. We haven't had to. But if you look at LinkedIn closely, we are doing outbound on LinkedIn. We create organic content, and then a team of people that I work with go out and find those people that we want to do business with and engage in conversations so we can pick it up from there and handle that. I'm going to talk about that and sort of how people can get behind that and get a start in understanding that. Number 3 is product-led growth. Product-led growth is not something we've deployed. I've been a part of organizations that have deployed it very successfully. I've seen it fail, and I want to just touch on that at a relative high level because I'm not a product-led growth expert. I know a lot about it. I don't sell it. I don't market it. I acknowledge that it's very much a good fit when it's a good fit. So those are the 3 things we'll cover today. So let's talk first about the wonderful world of SDRs, omni-channel outbound. So when you think about SDRs, a lot of founders think I can get them for cheap and we have them do a bunch of activity and hopefully appointments spit out the other end. That is utopia. The truth is you need to A, hire the right person. You need to B, have the right tool set for them. C, you got to have someone manage and train them because they can't just show up young and out of college, if you will, and just know how to do this. This job has become as important, if not more important, than the role of an AE or a closer. Top of funnel is the new bottom of funnel. They flipped. This is a wonderful statistic. So I want to start with this slide. So if you think about this, this is an old statistic, but it hangs to today. This is from the Bridge Group. I consistently refer to them because they hold all the data on SDRs, and it's not my opinion. These are facts. As the data is from over 2,000 leaders. So in 2018, 48% of company reported reps in the same role working in different locations. Now we think about your business today and how that's changed in 2021 heading into 2022. Is it fully remote? Is it a hybrid environment? The reason I bring that up is I have personally in our own company seen the challenge and the benefit of managing a team of 20 of these people working remotely. When you truly collaborate, when you truly train, and when you have someone to oversee the success of this person, the ramp, it will work out if you've hired the right candidate. If you just hire them and expect to go get a HubSpot license for free and say, go do some LinkedIn and make some phone calls, it won't work out. You need to equip them properly. But if you look at the amount of distribution here, meaning within the single state or province, multi-state or fully remote, that breakdown has changed. Now, if you look at this pie today, it's to be determined. There will be a new graph, and I'm assuming that we're going to see over 50 to 60% of folks working fully remote. What does that do? It allows you to hire better people because you don't have to hire only in your single location, but it also allows you to lose a little bit of control. So you think about that brand that you've created, the brand you brought to market. This person is going to be the first person that talks to any prospect or customer. So you want them to be professional. You want them to represent your brand, but you can't expect it to happen overnight. On average, is a 90-day ramp before you could expect much of anything from these folks in terms of reliable, predictable, scalable funnel. So if you look at since 2010, what stands out to me on this is we've halved the experience that's required as a whole. So we are hiring a lot of 23, 24-year-olds, which is great, motivated people out of university, but they don't have a lot of real world experience. They don't know the acronyms you know. They don't know the business like you do. So that's why training is so important. In addition to that, what we saw is the average, and this isn't on here, in US dollars in 2020, the average pay for an SDR of base pay was $38,500. In the US, that's less than minimum wage almost right now. Fully compensated on target earnings were just around $55,000. That has gone up exponentially this past year. There is a big demand for top of funnel. Most companies I talk to are willing to pay up to $100,000 for OTE for a more experienced SDR or BDR or somebody else who maybe went out and sold as an AE, doesn't want to travel anymore, AE's account executive, doesn't want to travel anymore, wants to stay close to home. Maybe that's the candidate that you want to bring in if you're looking for someone experienced to bring in-house. But the OTE has gone up significantly, and I don't think it's going to go down because people value top of funnel much more than they did because things are much more competitive than they've ever been. You have more competitors than you've ever had. There's more confusion around messaging than there's ever been. So I just wanted to bring that statistic to light here. And I also mentioned ramp time. Look at the ramp time. We're always looking at average ramp time sitting right now at 3.1 months. So if you look at this, this hasn't changed. In 2020, we're still at 3.1 months. So coming out of 2018, we were at 3.2. Ramp time's gone down, but now what you're going to see is that ramp time, the expectation is that it should be quicker. The reality is it's still 3 months. In 2014, what we saw was the advent of companies like Outreach, SalesLoft, ZoomInfo was coming to life with the discover.org. That acquisition happened. And then it took reps a lot more time because the reason that big spike happened, because now they had more tech than ever. And it took them longer to train on the technology. So I want to draw this to a talking point here, which is, I'm curious, and go ahead and ask questions. I'm happy to answer whatever I can. When you think about technology, chances are you're thinking about what is the lowest amount I can spend to get the most out of it? I would think about the adverse, which is what is the minimum tech I can bring, regardless of cost, that's going to benefit me. I need three things. You need something to find leads on. So whether that's ZoomInfo, Seamless AI, go down the list. You're going to want to spend a decent amount of money there because your leads and the quality of your lead data is going to be everything. Number two, you need some sort of platform to go outbound on. So think of Outreach, SalesLoft, ZoomInfo has their own platform right now. There's no less than 100 right now. These are really the same. The UX and the skin of it just looks different. And now there's some competitive differentiators, but what I would say is if you have anything that you need to qualify as a differentiator, make sure that it syncs with LinkedIn. Because you want to measure not only your calls and your emails and SMS if you do that, which there's a lot of laws around that, totally different discussion. Don't cold text people unless it's one-on-one with a very, like it has to be, make sure they're not on a do not contact list. Text is great for following up to get a deal back in cycle, but it's not great to go out cold outbound on. So think about that platform. Back to number two, the platform is something you want to invest in. If you use ZoomInfo and that, you're already up to about, call it $300 to $400 a month. And the third thing is LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I don't get paid by LinkedIn to say that, but you want somebody who's able to build lead lists intelligently and use them. So you're sitting around $500 to $600 a month right now in terms of the tech stack investment you want to make with 3 tools. Everything else is bells and whistles. You can use a dialer. We use different dialers here, but a dialer that's going to speed up dials is going to cost you anywhere between $300 and $1,000 per month per seat. At my company, Tidal, we spend $1,100 per rep per month on a tech stack. Our tech stack costs us over $380,000 a year, and we're in our first year. That's what we do for a living, though. So I want you to think about tech stack not in terms of, is it cheap? Is it, how much can I use at a minimum in terms of complexity? Spending a little bit more, find vendors who are willing to train your people. Find people who, when you spend money with them, they go, I gladly will schedule 2 hours with your rep. I'll gladly take an hour a month. We have webinars they can attend because that's going to be really critical for your rep to be successful. And then there's 3. So I want to summarize them real quickly. Again, we have 3 things we're talking about. Number 1 is you want a lead gen engine, something you can find data on. To source into number 2, your lead engagement platform, your outreaches, sales lofts, go down the list. Number 3, LinkedIn, Sales Navigator. There's also great LinkedIn learning courses that come with Sales Nav for that rep that you can really put as a part of their own learning and development. A lot of people don't think of that. That's going to be not only for their professional development, but it will make them better in the way that they operate and discuss on a day-to-day with you and your customers and prospects. Just looking to see if there's any questions. I don't see any yet, but then again, I'm not, if I'm missing something, please speak up. All right. Quality conversions. This is the most interesting data point to me, and it should be to you because it's gone straight downhill. Quality conversion is the difference between, I had a phone call with Corey and he said, send me some more information, but I talked him into an appointment. What does that mean is I am an SDR. I set an appointment for either my founder or my account executive, and we're going to now go into deep discovery. Well, discovery a lot of times is painful for customers. They don't really want to go through your line of BANT and MEDIC and all the questions. They really just want to learn, is your product anything that can help me? So different topic, discovery, all that intake. But if you think about that, why has it gone downhill? There's never been more pressure. There's never been more pressure to them because they say, I want you to get 40 a month. Okay, well, I'm going to go get 40. I would rather have 10 quality leads that are going to show up than 40 that have a 40% no-show rate and are not even in my ideal client profile. I'd rather talk to 4 people, 3 or 4 people all month that I know have a vested interest in what I'm doing than 30 people who don't. It is a waste of time for everybody. So quality conversions is a connector response where at least one piece of qualifying or disqualifying information is learned, i.e., what are you doing today? That's it. That's a great question. What is the biggest problem you're facing today? That's a great question. And you can now capture that in your CRM. And again, you can use a CRM very powerfully if you use the correct dispositions and you mark the correct sentiments, which takes a whole team, by the way, which is what we do at Tidal, because a lot of companies aren't big enough to support that, is we give them, I'm not interested. We're with a competitor. Send me more information. So now you can see by title or persona with your prospects, what they're saying and what message, think about messaging, you are telling a story about your brand, your company. What message resonates with which persona? Why has quality conversions gone down? A 45% fall since 2014. We will continue to decline. Right now, we're seeing this fall more down to about 30%. So instead of 8 quality conversions per day, we're looking at 3. We pay more, we get less. That's what happens in a competitive environment. Now, this is a quality conversation. Pardon me. I was saying conversion. Quality conversation. So let me back that up. A quality conversation versus conversion. Quality conversation is me talking to you on the phone and having dialogue. Conversion is me converting you into an opportunity. So a conversation is the only thing that can lead to a conversion, unless you're doing product-led growth. We'll talk about that coming up. Why have we had less conversations per day instead of conversions? Again, we're talking about conversations because it's more competitive than ever. Those conversations, we're pressured to do more, but we're getting less. The good side of this number is because that's lower, though, it means that not only is it competitive, but we require more of our reps. We ask them to ask better questions. So we can come to that next, that demo or discovery, probably discovery before demo, very prepared, and we're not wasting their time and we're not wasting our time. But we also have no-show rates that are higher than ever. So if you think about conversations due to conversions, now you still got to get them to show up. What's going to get them to show up before the meeting? You have to engage. Video content's a great idea. Micro videos, even just a free Vidyard account that says, hey, Corey, I'm looking forward to meeting with you tomorrow. Again, we're meeting at 11 o'clock Central Standard Time. You shared with me that software security is a problem. It's not super painful for you, but it's something that you're looking at in 2022, particularly in this area. So we'll address that tomorrow. I'm going to take 25 minutes of your time. Please let me know now if you need to reschedule. Otherwise, I really look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 11:30. I've attached a quick case study as well, blah, blah, blah. Most people don't do that. If they did it, our no-show rates wouldn't be so bad. But we also want to make sure we engage people who want to show up. So I always tell my reps, before you hang up the phone off of that initial call, before the email that says, thanks for wanting to meet with me tomorrow, say, Corey, I appreciate you taking the time. What's the thing you're most looking forward to when we have our conversation Thursday at 11? And if they can't tell you why, don't schedule the meeting. Buyers are smart. Prospects are smart. They know the easiest way to get you off the phone is to say yes. Yeah, I'll meet with you Thursday at 11. Sounds good. Then they wake up that morning, forget who you are, and delete the meeting. And you go, what happened to my meeting? They say, I don't remember who you are, because you never replied. You never responded to, you never, sent the email. You never sent a video. You never gave them the value they were looking for, or you pressured them into a meeting that you really shouldn't be scheduling anyways, just to hit a metric, which isn't good. So let's talk about this next and last as we kind of move on here. We have 2 more slides in this channel before we talk about LinkedIn. Email centric. What is your outreach channel? If you think about today, there's phone, there's email, there's SMS, there's LinkedIn, there's social, there's all kinds of social. It's all outreach. But when you categorize this, I want you guys to pay attention to this. Phone centric. Email's always been heavier than phone. Why? Because it's easy. It's free. It costs nothing. The highest ROI is $38 per dollar spent. $38 is the ROI for email heading into 2021 per dollar spent. Well, the tough part is good luck landing in an inbox, number 1, because security's never been tighter. 2, messaging's never been worse. People just want to spray and pray, and it doesn't lead to anything productive other than getting you blacklisted, your domain, which is a problem. So you don't want to just spam people because you don't want your domain to be harmed and have people say, I'm going to report you as spam. Number 3 is it's just tough because you're competing with everybody else who's emailing. Because why? Email's easy. Hit send all. Boom. That's the death of email. How do you get better at email? Send targeted, personalized emails, but you don't need to talk about where they went to college or what you learned about them. That does not give them a problem they never had. It might make them smile and go, oh, that's nice to hear, but it doesn't give them trust in you. It doesn't mean they have a problem you can solve. So don't waste too much time personalizing an email when you can have relevance, which is, hey, if you're like this person and have this problem, there's potentially a way we can solve it. If you're like these 2 companies, which is this, client case studies. If you're like Procter & Gamble, who we've worked with, who then saw a 3x ROI, keep it conservative and realistic. And if you want to learn more about that, I'd love to share some more information with you. That is a decent way to email people, right? Phone is picking up. It will never pick up to the large degree because most people are adverse to the phone. They think it doesn't work. I will tell you, at Tidal, we book over 20 meetings a day via the telephone. We call over 3,000 people. A little bit of it is very broad stroke, but then when we follow up with people on the phone, the benefit to the phone is, number one, no one's doing it because they're afraid of it. They have phone aversion. They have to talk to somebody. Dear God, that would be dreadful. Number two is it's expensive to get bodies behind the phones, especially talented bodies. And then number three, they don't do it because they don't get it. They don't know how to make it work. And they've been tricked to believe that, oh, people just engage with my emails. Well, they don't. You might have high open rates, but unless you actually have response rates that convert, they don't matter. I will say this with the phone, the best part about this is, and there's the advent of conversational intelligence. It's been around for about 6 or 7 years now. It's just coming into the mainstream with the gongs, the choruses. Everybody's getting into that now. Chorus was acquired by ZoomInfo. Conversational intelligence is about to be commoditized the next 2 years because it's becoming cheaper to record phone calls, to record Zoom videos for discovery. But if you do approach the phone, use conversational intelligence. Why? Because you can now listen to the phone calls that your SDR is making before the meeting and hear the entire thing versus just relying on notes. So you understand the person's tone, demeanor. If they ask good questions, you can listen to them. I listen to about 2 hours of calls a day in the morning. I wake up at 3:30 and I listen to 2 hours of calls. Why? Because I learn a lot about what my team's doing and I can really dig in. That's important. It's really important to me because it's my business. It should be important to anybody, any founder, any go-to-market leader, because that's where you're going to learn the most about your prospects and what's going on in the market. It is like tuning in the radio to your channel. You can't do that on email. You can do it on LinkedIn. You can do it on the phone. You can't do it on email. Email is like a push-to-talk walkie-talkie. It's one-way communication. How about this? No, I'm not interested. What about this? Nothing. A phone, you have someone live. So I want you to think about that. And finally, quota attainment. On average, reps hit 68% of quota. What does that mean? That means if you're going to target an SDR to generate $200,000 in new revenue, they're probably going to bring in about $120,000. So budget accordingly. It can be done right and be extremely fruitful. It can be your entire strategy, or it can be a part of one. I want to lastly talk on this. This is my company Tidal. This is some statistics we used. On average, when companies have used us, by month 3, we ramp quicker and we're above 25 appointments by month 4. Internally, it's just slower. It's steady because you got to train up, you got to train them and go to market with them. An internal BDR is going to be that middle road where by month 5, they hit their stride at about 20 and they stay there. Also, keep in mind the average tenure for an SDR right now is below 8 months, meaning they move on. They want to go find happiness somewhere else. They want to all be account executives because they think they can make more money. Someone gives them a chance, they leave your company, you got to start all over again. So there's that. And then the traditional agency, which call it offshore, nearshore, have really gone down in decline in quality because they don't use the phone and emails clog channel. And that's just simple in terms of how we've looked at that data. So we're going to move on now to LinkedIn. This is my favorite topic to talk about. Why? Because this has generated all of our revenue. Year 1, because we've had a very aggressive content strategy that's been very consistent. So feel free to ask questions along the way. Corey, could you just let me know if there is any, because I'm not being able to see them right now as well as I'd like to. I don't think there is any. Okay, good. We'll move on. LinkedIn, let's look at these stats quick. 1%. My wife said to me, I don't know if, and she's an executive in healthcare. She said to me last night, I don't know if I should really be posting on LinkedIn because it seems like everybody's doing it. I said, yeah, less than 1% of the 260 million users are doing it, even once a week. That's crazy. And those 3 million or so people who do it net the 9 billion impressions, meaning less than 1% of the people are making up the majority of what you see on LinkedIn. So yeah, you can become someone on LinkedIn, a thought leader. LinkedIn's algorithm does not like companies. Why? Because they want you to pay them for ad budgets. It's easy. Why do they like content creators, people who post? Because it gets people to the platform. Just like Facebook, just like Instagram, it is a platform owned by Microsoft that they want to make money off of. So companies They'll say, great, $5,000 a month, you get ads. They may or may not convert. Sorry, there's no customer service. There's no nothing. Just submit your ad, buy it, and proof it, and then move on. If you spend enough money, you'll get an account rep, which is great. And they do work. LinkedIn ads work if you spend enough money, but you have to have a strategy. If you create content, there is an 80-20 rule. 80-20, you think it would be the adverse. 80% has to be you speaking as you, and then 20% has to be you speaking about your business. You also have to go get people to connect with. You have to be consistent at least 4 times a week. I've posted 5 times a week for 10 months straight. Never missed a beat. Started with text, moved to video. And I don't talk about our company that much. I talk about the space we live in. I talk about the challenges people face in the space, the challenges of founders, the challenges of salespeople. And that has grown from my personal following, which is my brand. It's Tidal. I'm doing it for the company, not for myself. Has grown. This was taken last week on a screenshot. We're now almost to 12,000. So we've gotten another 400 followers just in a week. And that's for the company. As you can see, I've got the banner of our company behind me. And so when I'm speaking, it's generating leads for a company. I think that the one thing I'd like to dispel is if you're a founder or a revenue market leader and you see someone on your team going out on LinkedIn, don't discourage it. Don't say, hey, share everything about our company every day, because people don't care about your company. They care about the people at your company. And eventually they'll fall in love with your company because of the people. People just don't fall in love with Coca-Cola. They fall in love with the taste of Coca-Cola. It's their experience with Coca-Cola that they love, not the fact that you're Coca-Cola. Think about Michael Jordan. Nike made a lot of money off Michael Jordan's brand. Him saying, this is me and my story in a Nike commercial. That sold shoes, not the amount of air that they put in the sole of the shoe. Nobody cared about that. But they bought Nikes because of Michael Jordan. I'm not saying I'm Michael Jordan, not even close. I'm not saying you need to be. But think about that. This generated $4.2 million for a guy who knew nothing about LinkedIn 2 years ago besides to look for jobs. I thought it was weird when people posted. I met a guy, Jake Dunlap, who became a mentor of mine, and I learned how to create content, and I started using his company to help write content. And then eventually we've shifted into our own strategy that is more of an outbound lead gen engine than just writing content, but it is the hardest to pull off and the easiest to do once you start doing it. But you just got to be consistent, which is the hardest part for people, is to be consistent at anything, let alone a LinkedIn strategy. You have to make connections. You have to post content. Over time, it will work. So again, one thing I want to point out is there's something that would be called like a banger post, right? Like a post that you know is just going to hit hard. For us, it's video. We had 3 posts that were videos within not only 2 weeks. From first conversation to signed contract, it was over $200,000 in closed revenue off of 3 video posts about cold calling. That's powerful. I want you to also look at this. These are just some posts I wanted to pull here. Again, it's not about me, but imagine this in your world. This is one of the posts that generated a big deal. And it just said this: cold calling didn't die, work ethic did. Now, that's my personal opinion. It's a bold statement, but people agreed with it. Hit a lot of people the wrong way. I also did an RFP for our entire tech stack on video. We didn't have the time to create a document. I tagged every vendor in there, and guess what? We got about 42 emails from every vendor imaginable, and we ended up getting some nice discounts in our tech stack. And we had some good, honest discussions because they all got tagged, and we got a call from the VP of product from ZoomInfo who said, I'm sorry you haven't had the best experience with us. We've been a vendor of yours, and we haven't even had quarterly business reviews, and you spend over $100,000 a year with us. It allowed us to save some money on our tech stack and have a very good conversation with a big group. So it's powerful, and not just selling, but also negotiating with your vendors. Also here, this is what I'm talking about. People on LinkedIn don't find your company interesting. Not at all. Rather, they find you interesting. So be interesting. Start there. The rest will follow. All these views, all that, I don't know. It matters, but at the same time, the impact of the post is what matters. This is me. This is my LinkedIn from a year ago through today. Everything's up and to the right. Our sales and everything followed it, very correlative. Earned media value, meaning what would we have spent if we had to pay for ads for this, which this was free. For us, we just had to work really hard at it. It was almost $100,000. Meaning if I would have done LinkedIn ads, this would have taken $100,000 in 6 months to get the same conversion. So yeah, up and to the right, man. This is a summary of posts and how they perform. This is views on the posts. The most views I ever had a post before a year ago was, I believe, 800. So it works. I want to talk about something else with LinkedIn, not just about a content strategy. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a very powerful tool. You can sort lists, you can get lists. Again, I talked about this from the SDR standpoint. Look at this little tiny thing over here to the right. So I'm not endorsing ZoomInfo. We use them. They're one of 3 data vendors. But this is where LinkedIn gets powerful. You can use your data source to pair with LinkedIn. ZoomInfo does this very legally. It's not a data scraping tool. It just says, if you're looking for Dale here, he also exists in our system. Look at the little M there. These are mobile numbers. Mobile numbers. That's how you get a hold of people. Well, if I then said, I want to get a hold of a guy named Ben at this company. I can build a list, but then I want to drill in on Ben. Okay, here's Ben. Here's Ben's number. Here's his business email. Here's his employment history. This is all given to us by ZoomInfo as well as LinkedIn. These are 2 different ways to view it. And this is Ben, right? So I can get to know Ben. I can also connect with them. This is a secondary data tool we use called Seamless. I can find him there. I can call him. I can import him into my CRM. I can add Ben to a list. I can also navigate Ben's entire organization from ZoomInfo by going here and looking at who else works with Ben. He's the co-founder and CEO. We've got operations, engineering, technical, finance, all right here. They can easily be stored in the CRM. They can have multiple personas. For messaging, you can just call them on their mobile phone right now. It costs a little bit of money, but it's extremely valuable. Last of the 3, product-led growth. Again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time diving into this because we don't use it, but I talked to a lot of people who have successfully deployed it and a lot of people have failed. Because with product-led growth, you're looking at a traditional acquisition model of the opposite, the inverse, right? Visitor comes in, you qualify, it's a sales qualified lead, then it goes into a funnel. Nope. Product-led growth means you have something that you're giving to them for free. Think Slack. Think LinkedIn's free. LinkedIn uses product-led growth to get you to use LinkedIn Sales Navigator, LinkedIn Learning. All those things cost money, but they're going to get you hooked by coming back to the platform every day. What does your company have to offer for free that when people sign up, you can now nurture into a close or a higher revenue producing subscription, but you have to get them to want to use the platform first. So you have to spend a lot of money. You have to really focus on the user experience, the user interface. That's expensive because now you're going to say you're going to fall in love with it and then pay for it, or you're going to forget to cancel, which is a terrible model in my opinion, because now you're going to get someone who calls you angry saying, I never meant to sign up for this. Think Apple Store or Android Store where you get 6 days free and then you get a $70 charge and you are mad. You don't want that model. You want them to want to love it, want to pay for it, want to use it, and then tell everybody to know about it. So it's just the adverse. They become a customer first. You engage them because they're engaging with you. They advocate for you. They're a community for you. Oh my God, the word community. This could be its own webinar. You don't have to be an expert at understanding this other than it still costs money. It doesn't involve an SDR. It can and it should because someone has to call them to check on how they're doing, but it doesn't need to. It can be its own standalone model, but you need to hire somebody, either a full-time person in marketing or an agency that's very good at product-led growth. And it's expensive. You're going to spend about 10 to 20 grand a month at a minimum to get an agency before you ever put ads out there. So I just want you to know that it can be expensive, but it can work very well. Here's a bunch of logos. You'll all get the copy of this deck. This is everybody who's we all know the story of Slack, right? Who else has used product-led growth? You can zoom in here. You've got a lot of people. You would start to go and look at those names and say, yeah, I know that company. I know that CEO. Asana, huge, big story there, right? Go down the list and it is big. Red Booth, project management. There's over 100 just on here that are recognizable logos who grew solely from product-led growth. So again, I'm not going to speak to this, but this slide will go out. For product-led growth, you need these things: rigor and accountability. You need a test and learn mindset. You have to modify the heck out of it. I think you need that for anything. You need a clear definition of what success is. If this, then what? What is success to us? Is it 1,000 subscribers? Is it 10,000? Is it people, less than 20% of people who try it don't not pay for it, right? So what is your conversion metrics? And you have to have a long view. What is the long game? Again, I think you need that for everything. You need to have a long view in this game. If I can give you any advice before we kind of wrap it up here, in terms of at least me talking, is there is no one thing here to do that works. They can all work together. They can all work separately. You have to look inside of yourself and say, what do I have the tolerance for and the budget for and the patience for? Who can I partner with that I trust, or who do I know who's used them before? What partner Could I recommend or refer them to who I trust to say, we have minimum risk coming in here. It might fail, but I'm willing to accept, some failure to keep, not only from a budgetary standpoint, my risk tolerance to still see the long view, which is to push through and get through and break through with revenue. That's why we're here. We're passionate about this stuff. Happens to make a lot of us money. If it can make some money for your company over time and it's scalable and repeatable, keep doing it. Again, there's just some things on me here. So I've been doing this for a while, guys. I've been working. I formed sales organizations at T-Mobile and AT&T. Then I went over to outreach in 2016, 2017, and eventually fell in love with tech stacks and leading and building teams even more. And that's just what I do today. So I founded Tidal about a year and a half ago, year and 10 months ago. And we grew in 2021 from 0 to 4.2 million, from 0 employees to 46 now. And we've done this all bootstrapped using a LinkedIn. And now we're employing our first salesperson who is a phenomenal BDR. She's watching the webinar right now. Hi, Casey. She didn't come with a wealth of experience in SaaS sales or anything. She just came with a lot of grit. And so she outperformed every SDR I've ever seen in my life. She was extremely tenacious. And now she is transitioning with me from founder-led sales, i.e. me and our CRO, who've been on the front end, to that transition where we've been doing this for a while now. I have to run the company as the CEO, so I can no longer be the demo, the discovery guy. Casey will start to train and hand that off for the next 6 months. And so I'm happy to say we've gotten this far. We reached profitability month 7. And 2022 should be a very good year for us if we can keep doing good work for our clients. But the reason I brought that up is not to talk so much about us, but there's also that transition of, you got to think ahead. As a founder, when do you let go of that sales process, if you want to take a hold of it, to then go run the company again? And a lot of you are engineers, a lot of you are product people, probably very few of you are salespeople. That's why the webinar is happening today. So I hope you all learned something, and I will now look at any of the Q&A. So I'm looking at Amir's question here. Thanks, guys. If we hire external, like Tidal, we still need to train them too. So the training will be there for both internal and external team. What would be the difference in your view in training for these assigned groups? I will say this is, yes, there is training, but you're training them on really your messaging, your product. And if it's the right company that you partner with, they should have a complete learning and development program. They should be having about a 10 to 12 day ramp period to go to market, and then do continuous learning over the first 30 days to hit that ramp, versus 90 days when you're starting from scratch with one person. You have a whole team. Do you consider HubSpot a lead engagement platform? Yeah. HubSpot's getting a lot better. There's some things in the past where I thought they've just been really good at marketing, but they're getting much more formidable as a true lead engagement platform. They do sync up with LinkedIn. The only limitations are you have to really upgrade to Pro to do anything more than 5 steps, 5 in a sequence. And my team uses 17 touch points in a 10-day period. So minimal touch points unless you pay a lot of money. But yeah, HubSpot's very good. I'm a Salesforce fan, but that's what we use. So I tend to lean on what we use.
Perfect, Steve. This was great. I actually have a couple of questions for you. You talked about LinkedIn, and you mentioned you have this content strategy. What advice can you give to founders that may think that they don't have anything interesting to share? Like how can they start their own content strategy for LinkedIn or some of these other social media platforms just to get started?
It's a good question. Either people think they're overly interesting or under interesting, right? You will, if you founded a company, people already think you have something to say. I know a lot of people who are engineers I follow. Like most salespeople would never follow engineers. Very, very different mindset. But trust me, the sales and marketing speak on LinkedIn gets to be a little bit much at a time. So it's a relief for me to go talk and learn from people. So I'd say whatever you say it in your voice, because people find you interesting already. You're smart. If it's smart, if intelligence is your thing, run with that. Inform people, give them data points. You don't have to write what I call broetry, which is, people writing about sales and pros, right? That's broetry. And you can just say, here's a paragraph about what I think about data, and people, it will resonate with people. And of course you can always hire somebody to do that for you too. So just like this, I mean, we outsource LinkedIn too. There's companies who do that, where if you don't think you have something interesting to say, or you don't have the time, find someone who can help you with it. Because I'm so passionate about seeing people win and lose with LinkedIn. I just say, don't lose with it, because you have to do something with it. Because Patrick, think about it like this. Everybody who's getting followers, and LinkedIn's algorithm does not let you just race out and get 1 million followers. Like, you either have to be like the most popular person ever, where they just come to you, and that's not me, or you have to go out and get them over time. So if you're advancing now and getting a bigger following in time, you don't have to play catch up in 3 years. If you don't have at least 10,000 followers in 2 years, your competitors will. Your competitors' CEO, CFO, CMO, salespeople will. And I just say, people, you probably don't want to be in that situation, because you can't even pay to catch up to that. Use paid advertisements on LinkedIn as well of your own generated content. Great question. We are actually budgeting in 2022 for the first time to use paid for LinkedIn. We're also going to be use G2 Crowd. So those are the 2 channels we'll use. We're now going on top of that with organic content. I think doing both at the same time, if you have the budget, is a phenomenal idea, because organic content is great, but they still need to see like a very concrete offering. And then if they hear your organic content and they see an ad, it's going to really compound and work very well for you. Very well for you. Triggers do you need? Sorry. What triggers do I need? Great question. I need to see some form of intent with keywords. They need to be searching for other competitors like me, or be putting in keywords like, for me, outsourced sales development would be where we really key in. And of course, if it's like SEO, you're paying more for the more obvious keywords. So you might want to look for something like sales consulting, right? A less popular word that's still going to get you there. Thank you, Michael.
Perfect. And I'm also curious, like, what are you seeing in terms of like how compensation has evolved over the last little bit for AEs and SDRs? And then I'm also kind of curious, like, how this compensation model works for like an outsourced firm like Tidal.
Sure. AEs, man, I've seen AE compensation go way up. I've met more AEs who make $1 million a year than I ever thought I'd meet in my life, which is 4. Like verified $1 million earners. And I'm always like, I wish I could have done that, but I didn't. And I think that is uncommon, right? Because they'd have to sell a lot. And they're phenomenal salespeople. I think that AE, OTE, if you will, I'm speaking in USD here, usually see about 140. Sometimes people are going to demand up to 200, 250. And this market is demanding that right now. I'm not willing to pay it myself, because 140, sure, 150, right? That seems tolerable to me, and they can overachieve to get wherever they want to. But like OTE isn't guaranteed money anyways. And if they want a high base, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. I'd always go to 50-50 blend, half base, half earned compensation. SDR, BDR, I see that if I were to own a company that wasn't us, and I had a SaaS product, I'd hire an SDR in the US for around no less than 70 OTE, with a base no less than 50, as much as 100, no bigger than of a base than 60, with 40 at risk. You shift from a 50-50 model with AEs to a 60-40 model with SDRs, because you want a little bit heavier base, still some at risk, with really the KPI being appointment schedule that people attend. That's the only thing they should be measured on beyond activity. And don't just drive high volumes of activity, because all they're going to do is burn out. You want to have a consistent, nice mid to high volume, and like a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Don't go full 10 and say, call 200 people a day. They will be gone in 2 months. That will burn anybody out. Curious on your thoughts on going to market with a disruptive idea. How do you balance discovery and early stage lead gen with finding the right customers, early adopters? Early adopters live on LinkedIn. I think they do. And they're easy to find, because they're going to be with the competitors or people who you think would be in the sphere of products that you're either disrupting or that complement that. So what I would advise, or does this process really not change at all? Go to find the people around that sphere, go to the companies on LinkedIn and look at who follows them, and then follow them. And then every time they post, you'll see who engages with them. Easiest way to pick off customers is go to your 50 competitors or 5 or whatever it is, follow every one of them and look who follows their page. and then say, okay, I know they're a customer because otherwise they won't follow, or they were, or they're thinking about it. And then you can use that and parse out your prospect list based off what you're trying to disrupt. Number one, our company's trying to disrupt the normal model, right, of doing things. Who do we go to? We follow every one of our competitors. We follow over 4,000 CEOs of startup companies, not just to get leads because we're truly interested in that, but we don't miss a beat. We like have people who watch this all day long, like it's the stock market. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss a beat because if they're looking for it, they're looking for it now. And then Patrick, you had asked a question about Tidal, where back to that, I talked about AE and SDR compensation. You're going to pay somewhere in between there. So if an AE is going to cost you, call it $10,000 to $15,000 a month all in, a company like a Tidal should cost you between 8 and 15, depending on what you want to do. And that SDR component alone, if you hire them internally, again, you'd be paying between 5 and 8 a month. So it's right in between. Like you're kind of going to be paying more than an SDR and less than an AE. So you either want to have AEs, a good AE, or you're going to want to have a founder who has the time to take the appointment from that outsourced SDR company to make it a good handoff.
Okay, perfect, great. And maybe just quickly, any top tools outside of the tools that you've already mentioned, like Zoom Info and a few others, like what's the 3 tools that you can't live without, maybe on the SDR side, sales side, and maybe on the content strategy side?
Number one, I mentioned briefly conversational intelligence. Everybody should have a Gong-like tool, I believe, but you also need to use it. It's one thing to say, hey, this would be great. You have to actually monitor it because it's not just for phone conversations and demos and discovery. It can literally sync up with your email. It can, for example, if your AE says, hey, I've got a great deal going, and it's not multi-threaded, it's not closing. If they haven't gotten any other stakeholders in their company, and those tools tell you that. So it will hold everything from that initial call, that phone conversation, to the next demo, to all emails. So it's really a way to organize your deals to start to see trends and what levers are being pulled so you can pull them again and again. That works really well. So I would say Gong, Chorus, Exec Vision's a really nice option. That's about half the price. Those 3 I like a lot. And number 2, there is intent tools everywhere, guys. So a lot of people want to look at intent data. I will say I've been most happy from an intent data standpoint with Bombora. And Zoom Info is getting better. It's nice because, put it this way, I can go to Zoom Info as a vendor. I can get my chat tool for our website. I can get web insights, meaning who's coming to my site, which is a form of intent. That's where our salesperson, who we just transitioned, is looking every day. Who's coming to our website, right? That's important. If they're coming to your website, you can see where they go. If they look at your products and services and pricing, call them right now. Especially if they didn't look at things because they're already on the 7th competitor's website, and you probably want to engage in a conversation. I like Zoom Info for that. I'll be honest with you. It offers intent data and the chat and the ability to use conversational intelligence with Chorus instead of Gong. So you can start to really leverage your spend with one vendor, right? Again, I don't work for them. I just like what they can do. And the third thing I'll end on is research-based companies. So there are companies out there who you can pay an amount of money to, who they will deliver very in-depth research around who specifically is looking and budgeting for the thing you have, the problem you're solving. They look through white papers, they look through everything, and they can pick out keywords. They can look at who's handling that project, what team it's comprised of, what the goal is, down to budgets. But you're going to look at about $25,000 a year at a minimum to pay to play in that area. But trust me, your people probably aren't doing it as well as you'd like them to. And there's multiple companies. Hit me offline and give you 2 or 3 really solid ones. You can, of course, connect with me on LinkedIn and just shoot me a note. I'm happy to intro you to those companies. We don't use them because we have 32 clients at the same time. That would be very expensive, and they're probably not willing to pay us $25,000 to do deep research. They want us to do one thing, and it's usually get appointments on the board.
Okay, perfect. Well, this was great, Steve. We really appreciate you making the time this afternoon, and we'll try to make the presentation and the video available later today to everyone if they want to go back and revisit something. So Appreciate it. And thanks everyone for coming out.